Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with Mixed Media 101 Episode 3. This is Take 2. Let me show you what happened in Take 1. So I filmed a process video where I did a whole spread in this new Mixed Media journal, and I filmed it, but then I didn't close the camera. I've got a webcam. I didn't close the camera, and so when I woke my camera back up later, the video was gone. So that was my bad. That's never happened before, and I'm super bummed. But rather than walking away and being defeated, I'm going to come back and we're going to do another video. So let me talk to you a little bit about this journal first. This is a Dilutions journal. I really love these. I tend to gravitate back to them over and over because when you open them up, they lay flat. So all the pages lay flat. Okay? So that's really nice, and they're very well made, and they come in different sizes. I believe this is the, what is this one? This is a 9 by 9. Well, not 9 by 9. I guess without the spine, it's 8.5 by, I don't know. I took the papers off of it, so I can't tell you exactly, but it's the square one. So they also have one that's the regular size that's like the rectangle shape. So let me show you the spread that I did that I'm so sad about, but it got me into the groove again, which I haven't done any mixed media work inside of a journal in a really long time. So this is the spread that I did, that I filmed, that you guys will not be able to see. And in this video I use napkins. So I have this beautiful napkin that I've talked about in another video, and it's super bright, lots of very bright yellow colors. Of course, in my process I get that all dingy and vintage up because that's what I like. But let me talk to you a little bit about the composition here. So basically what I did is I took a napkin and I tore a bit. I did the water cutting to cut around the flower, and then I put a flower bunch here, and then one over here. And then I came in and I did a little bit of stamping with this this kind of broken brick stamp. It's in 3 places. 1, 2, where was the third one? I think it might be up under here. I think I covered some of it up, if I recall. But anyway, I was talking over it here. I was talking in the video about how I was working in 3. So you can see I have 3 flowers. You want odd numbers. I have 3 sections of this stenciling with the modeling paste, and then I have 3 different sections of the script stenciling with the modeling paste as well. So rather than just I didn't want to bore myself by trying to replicate this exact project because I'm going to be able to show you the same techniques in what I'm going to choose today. So for the moment, I'm going to I'm going to close that for now. But basically, I was trying to think about whether or not I wanted to come in with some, give a grungy layer to the bottom of that book, like to the pages, so that when I start putting the papers down, it's not going to be so, it's going to have something vintagey underneath. We'll see when we get there. So I picked a couple of stencils. This is a fairly new stencil. I've only used it a few times. I've got 2 actually of this one. One I used for, well, actually this is the one I'm not supposed to be using for mixed media. So I wonder where I put the other one. Oh, I don't know. My stencils go through hex, so I'm going to try to turn this light on. It's a beautiful day outside, but it's, for some reason, the lighting in here is not great. So I'm going to set that aside, and then this is a lace stencil from Finibert that I thought would be fun to try. And so what we're going to do in this video, when we get the stenciling on with the texture paste, we're going to actually be using some acrylic inks and some high flow acrylics to drop in some color and then spray it with some water and then let it run. We tip the book and we make it do some magical things, which again I haven't done in a really long time. So I've got a bunch of brushes, a couple palette knives as usual. I have my my Liquitex fluid matte medium, and I have my raw umber fluid acrylic in case I want to do a glaze, which I often do. Oh, I need to put this back in here. So when you're doing mixed media art journaling, you want to make sure that you have something in between here, really kind of permanently, otherwise your pages can stick. So let me show you. I forgot that I did this glaze. So can you see the crackle glaze? You see that crackle? It's really, really cool. It's very, very subtle. I don't care for it a lot because it's really hard to see the cracks even when you go over it with the raw umber glaze. It's just really kind of, I guess because they're so tiny, because it's a very, very fluid medium, so not like our crackle paint. So I'm going to set that book aside for the moment, and I wanted to show you, I'm going to show you some rice papers that I purchased, but I'm also going to talk to you about how you can print your own digitals on your own rice paper. So let me grab the rice paper that I use. I meant to grab this before I turn the camera on. It's just right here though. So this is the rice paper that I purchased. It's from Jack Richardson's. It's very, very affordable. It comes with 50 sheets, and I can cut two 8.5 by 11 pieces out of one sheet. And it's affordable. It's amazing to work with. And what rice paper does is it's similar to tissue paper in that when you put it down and you've put some matte medium on the bottom and you lay that paper down, the paper becomes, because it's so, the material that's made out of it becomes part of the surface. It kind of disappears. It's really, really incredible. So one can buy these, which they're not horrible. I imagine I paid $2 for this. $2.50 maybe. I've had it for a while. So let me just flip through a few here that I have just in my stash. So really beautiful images. This one's a little bit different. You can see, you can't even see through it. So I don't know why how they can call it rice paper, but that's why I haven't used it. Love, love, love the hydrangeas. And then I made a couple of different projects with this this rice paper. One of my favorites. There's even some words here. They're kind of odd, but yeah, so you can purchase it. I get mine on Etsy. I will link the shop that I typically buy for. I think I did link it in the mixed media envelopes video that we did. So this one's also really pretty. Very, very subtle colors, but very fun. Oh, Christmas one. Some daisies. This is gorgeous. It would be so beautiful for an ocean themed kind of project. And so, yeah, so that's just some of them that I have, and these are just some scraps here at the bottom. And then, oh, this one's so beautiful. Look at this. Vintage grunge. Oh, makes me happy just to look at it. So that is purchased rice paper. With the Jack Richardson rice paper that I just showed you, you can print on it in your printer. I can, and I don't even... so some people, like when I looked it up, because I wanted to go, oh, well, what side of the rice paper do I want to print on? Because I couldn't quite remember. I've done it before, but I couldn't remember. And what I saw was that people said that they were having to tape their rice paper. This would be white if it was just a sheet. Sorry. They would have to tape their rice paper to a piece of copy paper. Mine is a back-loading printer. It's just a cheap HP printer. As long as I have some copy paper behind it in the tray, it feeds through just like a piece of paper. It's absolutely amazing. So I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to do this on your printer. I have a very, very popular video that's had over 10,000 views since it was posted, where I showed how you print on tissue paper, how you print on rice paper, how you can print on I can't even remember all the substrates that I talked about, but a lot of them, and I actually showed you like how to, I had my printer down here and all of that. So I'll try to remember to link that as well. But I didn't have any problem personally. Again, I cannot vouch for your printer. Mine is an inkjet. It's HP Office Jet inkjet printer, and it's a very affordable printer. Unfortunately, they don't make it anymore, so if one's lucky to find it, it's no longer under warranty or anything like that because they don't make it anymore. But I want to show you what I selected. I may not use all of these, but I just wanted to show you. I printed this beautiful image. I believe this is from My Porch Prints. Yeah, My Porch Prints. And when you print on this, I have my Post-it note somewhere there. So when you print on this in your printer, you want to print on the smooth side. So the textured side, I don't know if you can see that texture. I think you probably can. So the texture on the back versus the front. So see how there's less texture I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there is. When I touch this side, I can feel the texture. When I touch this side, it's much smoother. So you want to print on the smooth side. And so I printed that one, and then I printed this. I think this is just one I got off of like Pixabay or something, but I thought it would be a fun background paper because we're going to use these to collage on our journal page. And I think this is the one I want to use for my main focal image. This is also from my porch prints. Isn't that amazing? So again, printing on the smooth side, the rough side, no, because this is the part that's going to kind of become part of the substrate, where whether you're putting that on a canvas or you're putting it on in a book journal. So this, unfortunately, my printer ran out of ink, so the rest of the page was purple, but I thought I would go ahead and just cut that off so I could use it. And then one more. I don't know off the top of my head who this is, who made this or what the creator is, but again, printed on the smooth side. So in my printer, that means that I have to put the rough side to the back because mine is a feeder like this that's off the top of the printer. So I put it in like this because I want the side that I want to see my print on when it spits out, I want it to be the side that's up when I set it in my printer. So of course everybody's printer is probably going to be a little bit different than that. I'm just talking about my experience. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of tear this up, and we're going to collage on it. We might add some papers too, just for some interest in terms of text, but I'm not completely sure I want to do that. So we'll have to see how it goes. I think this is actually going to be quite enough, but we'll see. But before we do that, we want to prep these pages. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. So if you are not going to do a glaze or a wash on your, actually even if you did a wash, I think you'd want to gesso your pages. So we want to, I'm going to put this paper this way so that I can keep that protected, and I'm going to skip. I don't want to necessarily go to the very next page. This is really grungy from my last play, which, you know what, it doesn't matter because we're going to, yeah, we're just going to use it because, let me just quit trying to do two things at once here. My apologies. So, because we're going to gesso these actually is what I'm deciding. I was thinking I could just do a glaze, but the gesso creates a really nice barrier. So sorry it's dark in here. Let me see if my shade, closing my shade will help. Is that better? I don't know if that's better. Yeah, maybe. It's just super dark, which is weird because it's a bright sunshiny day out there. So I like to do gesso because I feel like it gives a really good surface, not only for protecting this page so that your paints and whatever don't just absorb into your paper. And I apologize, I'm talking a lot about technique because this is Mixed Media 101. So that's my process. I like the texture that it adds. I like the protection that it adds between the paint layers and the paper. But I also like to take some paint, which I'm just going to reach in my drawer and grab. I think this is just artist tape because I use artist tape when I'm doing watercolor. And I'm just going to cover that spine so that it doesn't bleed through. Now this book is pretty good. I did it here and you can't even tell, like I can see the line from the tape but barely, so it's not going to really show in this kind of project, so you don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to speed that process up or cut it out entirely, is I'm just going to put, because it depends on how long the video gets, I'm going to put a piece of tape down here. Actually, I think I did two pieces on top of each other. I'm going to gesso these pages and then I'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, this is mostly dry enough. So I applied just one coat of gesso on the base here. Still struggling with the light. I cannot figure out what's better. So my apologies. Every light in this room is on, and I don't usually have trouble with lighting, but there we go. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to apply our rice paper. We're going to tear it up a bit, and because we don't need the full sheet, and we're going to use the Liquitex Fluid Matte Medium. And I've got a plate here. I don't know if you guys can see that, kind of. Let's see if I can move over just a bit. It's a pretty long spread once the book is opened up, so that's why we're struggling a little bit. So I'm not going to Let me move that. Apologize for the going back and forth here. So let's start with our main image just to get the whole breadth of it. I want this part to be the main image, so the rest of it can be kind of torn down a little bit. I'm just going to use my tear ruler right here. And so basically I just want to get the main image here for a focal point. So this is our focal point. Not exactly sure where a focal point. We might use the other rows too and do 2 focal points. Whoops. Come on. Come on. Tears pretty darn easily. But I would recommend getting the pad of rice paper if you're interested in using rice paper. Very affordable compared to buying this rice paper that's already printed. So I'm thinking we could put one there, and then we'll also use this, but we're going to tear it up in bits. So I'm going to just tear these down, and I'm just going to speed this part up for you guys. Okay, I think that's going to be good for now. If we need more, we can get more. I'm just going to tear the rest of those edges with my fingers. Got a little bit of a tear there. That's not a problem. Oh, I forgot this edge, this piece. So I think I'm going to tear this one down a little bit. Don't necessarily want that really dark part, but I will definitely use this other section. So the tricky part for me when collaging like this in mixed media form, since I haven't done it in a while, is being able to kind of blend the edges in. So we're going to practice a little bit together. I'm actually thinking I might want my rows kind of in the middle-ish, which can be difficult because you got to account for your fold. It usually works out pretty well. So let me just kind of lay these out and see. I think we want this one torn down. Okay, changed my mind a little bit. I feel like I need something to cover this white page. That's just my thing. This is from a book that Judy sent me. Sweet Judy just randomly sent me this vintage book, and it's absolutely amazing. So we're gonna christen her today. So the only thing I'm concerned about and that you want to think about is, do you want this showing behind that? I don't think it's a problem. I think it's actually quite beautiful. So we're going to just cover both of these pieces of the book here. So I'm going to just kind of mark this. If I can find my pencil, everything's moved on the desk. I'm just going to cut 2 of these pieces down. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to love this, but we're going to go ahead and give it a try. I've really not done this just with 2 solid pieces of paper. Now you wouldn't have to, you could intersperse them, but I'm not sure about mixing up solid papers with papers that are going to be transparent, because you're going to see the lines underneath, like where the papers overlap, and I'm not sure I'm real keen on that. So let's go ahead and glue these down. Okay, and as you probably notice, I am going to be smoothing this out. I just pulled an old gift card out of my drawer, and I'm just using that to kind of spread that glue out. And this helps you to avoid air pockets, because what we have going on here, we're going to have to deal with because we've got a seam there, so it's going to be about right there. So I'm just going to use my fingernail and just kind of, I'm actually cutting that a little bit because my fingernail is sharp, but that's okay. And I'm just going to get some, whoops, more matte medium in there, and then we're going to put a layer on the top as well. It will all be fine in the end, I promise. So a layer underneath to adhere it to the book, and then a layer on top to seal the top, because we want to be able to do a glaze and we want to be able to put other mediums on here. I pulled out some acrylic inks, and as I mentioned, and a couple of high flow acrylics, so we're going to be using that. You could also use a clear gesso if you wanted to. We might use some gesso on this just to kind of push some of it back, but I'm going to try to test out the, got some coming up here. I'm going to try to squeeze some matte medium under there. And then I do like to make sure I get a good coating over all of it, because you'll get a different effect on the places that don't have gesso than the places that do. Sometimes that's a nice surprise and I don't mind it, but for the sake of the tutorial here, I want to have it be as best and consistent as possible. So, and if you get wrinkles, it's not a big deal. I just then use my finger and just really press them down just to get rid of any pockets of air that are underneath there. So, and don't worry about that seam, it's going to be fine when we're done. Okay. We might even kind of open and close that here in a second. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dry this, and I'll be right back for the next step. Okay, there we go. It does not have to be completely dry because we're going to be gluing our rice paper down now. You do want to use the fluid matte medium or a watered down PVA or something like that. So I'm trying to think. I don't really want this to go over that seam, so I'm almost wondering if I should put it there. Yeah, let's just do that. We're just playing, guys. This is not a masterpiece. It's just a page, it's a spread in a journal, that's all. You do want plenty of matte medium because that's what helps this paper to kind of disappear into the background, into the paper, and become very, very transparent. So I'm butting it up against that fake seam that we created by overlapping those papers, and that's going to help to hide that seam as well. So as you spread this on, you're going to see it becomes more and more transparent. And I like working with rice paper because it's not as fragile. Now I am getting a little bit of bleed. I see some pink on my brush, and that's just from the printing this on my printer. So I have an inkjet, so I do get some bleeding, but I'm good with it. Okay, so let's put on some of this other stuff and see what we can find here. Again, I'm not trying to be too particular. I just want to get some interest down. I need some more matte medium here. So I'm going to continue to put these papers on. Typically when I do collage work, I would have several of each thing like I showed you in the other one, but this is just a background and this is our focal point, is these beautiful roses. So I'm going to just splat this stuff on. The other thing with rice paper is because it's not as fragile as tissue paper, you can often, at least right away, you can alter the position. With tissue paper, you can't. You're pretty much committed as soon as you put it down. So again, I'm not trying to cover everything. I just want, I want most of that covered in terms of the book page. So, but I'm a little concerned about the overlap because I don't know how that's going to look, but again, we're just playing, so I'm just going to continue on and see what we get. Because we're going to be doing some texturizing with some stencils, modeling paste, and paint and stuff. So just going to continue on here. You can put them any way you want. You can, you know, have them be isolated like this over here. Not a problem. Again, I'm a little rusty with the doing it in the book, so forgive me if it's feeling choppy. So do we want this piece in here? I'm not sure if I do. I don't really have a place for it, so I think I'm going to hold on to that one. So I've got some other script here which I think would be fun to add in. So I'm just going to tear this one. Okay, just creating the background. This is the space that's going to be reserved a little bit more to show its beauty. So let's get another piece of this up at the top. Again, I've not done this with rice paper before, collaging with rice paper, so we may like it and we may not. We may not. Okay, I'm going to hold this up so you can see the transparency, because I don't know if that's really picking up on camera. I think I want one more piece here. But what I love about this is that we can still see the music paper that we laid down, that really, really beautiful vintage music paper. It's really awesome. So I'm loving it. I'm going to set these pieces aside. And here we go. So you can see all that beautiful, beautiful music paper down below, down underneath, okay? So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to come in with a glaze, and then we're going to come in and do some texturizing. Actually, little change of plans. I want to make some of these lines go away, so I'm going to get my gesso out first here, and I'm just going to start trying to make those lines disappear. So I'm going to see if I can reach a smaller I don't know if I want a brush. I always go to my finger, it works better. So I'm just going to kind of apply some gesso here and there. Actually, let's try the palette knife. Let's try the palette knife. Yeah, just get some gesso to kind of disguise those separating lines between our elements. This one's not really working that great. It's after work, guys, you know. What can I say? Today was just a training day, though, so that was nice. But this, so what gesso does, so it might feel like, well, what are you really doing? You know, what is this getting you? Well, it's creating texture with the gesso. So just by scraping it on like this, we're going to have some interesting texture to the piece, and we've got a little bit of wrinkle there. That's going to be cool. So I'm just going to push all this back a little bit. I don't want to cover up that whole stamp, that what is that, would be a wax seal kind of thing in the digital. So this just pushes all that back so that it just peeks through, and we're not going to do that very much on the focal image here. And so then you can see that we're kind of disguising those separating lines from where the papers aren't actually meeting, which is cool. And I'm trying to get at this here on this side. I don't want to cover up all those words for that piece of that book page that I tore up and put there. We've got a hangover here, so I'm going to have to deal with that. But we'll deal with that in a minute. So again, I don't really want to get too much up in the rows. I mean, you can, but I'm not going to do that. You don't want to cover everything up. Now, I didn't wait for that glue, that matte medium, to dry because I know how it behaves. So you can totally go in with another medium like this without any risk. So, but you guys can play cautious if you want and dry completely between layers if that feels better for you. So again, I'm just going to get in here though. Oh, I just got a bunch of gesso on the front of my book. I'm trying to deal with the seam here now. Okay, so see what we're doing there? Some things I want to show, like I'd like to see that name. I think it's kind of cool. Need a little bit more gesso. I think this is going to turn out beautifully. Okay, and then you can get some along your edges too, which is always nice. So now I think we're good to go ahead and give this a full dry. We do want to dry it very, very well, so I'll be right back. Okay, forgot to show you what this looks like up close. So again, we've just got some really grungy white texture there that is not going to stay white. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do a glaze two different times, but we're going to do it this first time before we do our texturizing. So I'm just going to wipe this plate off. Oh, I'm going to have to grab some more wipes too to the bottom of this bag. So let me do that really quick. My apologies, guys. Alrighty. Didn't realize I was at the end of that one. I store them all in here, so it's not a big deal. Let's pull some out here. Alrighty. So let's just go ahead and mix the glaze right here on this plate. So a glaze is 2 parts of acrylic paint. Now, you could do your glaze in any color you wanted to do it. I could come in here and do a green glaze. I could come in here and do a raw umber, which is my preferred. I could come in and do a pink glaze. I mean, it's whatever you want. But I prefer just the vintagey look of the raw umber glaze. I've just got a little bit of a wet spot here. I'm just gonna try to pat that. I want to make sure it's not terribly wet. Thought it was completely dry. So I'm using golden fluid acrylic. You can do this with craft acrylics. You do not need the expensive acrylics. Every technique that I do can be done with craft acrylics, okay? So that's my raw umber. So it's 1 part paint to 2 parts of glazing media. I probably have more here than I need, but I'll just hold on to this plate because we're going to do another glaze here. So I'm going to wipe this brush off. I like to use a soft brush when I do the glaze. So I'm just going to mix this up. Those of you who've been following me have seen me do this before, and it can kind of give you kind of a gotcha when you're watching this thinking, what are you doing? But I promise it's going to be fantastic. So there's two choices here. You can rub or you can pat. So let me show you what the rub looks like. Okay, this is just rubbing. So it's going to leave a really, really indistinct kind of raw umber, dark, grungy glaze or layer here. Okay. Sometimes I like to come in and just pounce like this and kind of give a model look. You can do both like I just did. I did the wipe first and then I'm doing the pounce. We're going to wipe more off that rose in a second, and that's the beauty, if you haven't seen my other videos of the raw umber glaze or a glaze, is that we've lost a lot of the vibrancy there, right? But we can wipe it off. So watch this. Because it's a glaze, I wipe that off. We can also wipe it off of other places if we want to see more of it. So if we want to highlight some elements, like I really like that piece of the postage, you can do that. You can do that. So it just kind of depends on what you want. So let me show you what this looks like now, up close. So now it's too bright in here. Goodness gracious. Sun, make up your mind. I'm trying to turn this light off. There we go. So it's just a very subtle grunge. You can see where our papers are overlaying. Now, in retrospect, it's kind of wasteful to do all that patchwork with rice paper, but I wanted to show you how it behaves. And to be honest, I don't think it's that expensive. It seems like that whole pad of paper was $22 or something, and it had 50 pages in it. So it's really not that bad. So I'm going to dry this really quick. Glazes dry very, very fast. So I'm going to hit it with the heat tool. We're going to come back and we're going to do some stenciling. Okay, just like that. So we have a couple of stencils I wanted to use. So I think I want to go with the script first. And I've got my palette knife, and I actually purchased another jar of this because I'm really having a hard time working with my modeling paste on camera because I'm to the bottom of my pot, my other one. So when I'm doing work on camera, I'm going to go out of this new one. So I'm just going to pop this open. Now you guys, I looked at my Amazon history, and this pot that's 16 fluid ounces that still has this much in the bottom, I got 2 years ago at this time. So it's lasted me 2 years, and you guys know the amount of mixed media work I do. So that's pretty darn good. So we're going to do some script work here first. So we're going to just follow generally I like to work in areas of 3. So I'm just going to get some modeling paste on my palette knife. As I mentioned before, I do like the square one for this technique. So I'm not going to just do the whole thing. I'm going to probably go like this and kind of do a little bit of an area here. But you can decide what you like. Okay, because we don't want it to cover everything. And I'm hitting some of that texture from the papers meeting. So I'm just going to kind of go down here in like a little bit of a V shape, or whatever you want to call that, an S curve kind of shape. Okay. And the reason why this is so beautiful is we're going to be using some inks, and we're going to let that ink run, and we're going to add water to it and let it drip, and it's going to be phenomenal. I have so many other projects I need to do, but I needed to get this. I needed to do mixed media for you guys. So there we go. Oh, look at that. So cool. Okay. That's a big area. That was more than I intended. So I think I'm going to kind of go right here, kind of by this rose, and I'm just going to put a little bit here. And I'm kind of holding this up. I don't want to get anything that's on the back of that stencil on my surface. So I'm just going to do a little patch here, kind of going into the frame of that rose. I hope that's making sense for you guys. Oh, doggone it. Did you see that? We're going to be okay with it though. I lifted my stencil. So again, as I say often, perfection is not at play in the studio. This is about play. This is about experimenting. This is about figuring out what you like and what you don't like and what suits you. And so I just don't worry about those things. If I wanted to, I could wipe that up. In fact, maybe we'll do that just so I can show you that that works. So let me do this patch up here, and then we'll wipe that up just so you can see what that looks like. As long as you don't wait too long, you can totally remove it. So there we go. Need to be a little bit more careful there. All right, so let's just grab a wipe here, and we can literally just wipe it off. Okay, now doing this, you do risk pulling up any of that glaze that's underneath, but it's not at this stage. You've got, oh, we pulled up some paper. Doggone it, we're all the way down to the book page. Oh, I do not like that. It's going to be okay though, because that book page that you see peeking through, that was also fortified by the matte medium. So it's going to be fine. It's just going to look like a weird little patch there. So it's not a problem. So let's go ahead and try that one more time. Over on this area here. We're going to go back up into that rose because now I really want to cover that up. If I can, cover that bit that went crazy. my hand slipped before, so. Okay, just like that. Easy peasy. Probably best to put your tools down before you try to lift your stencil, because then you can kind of control how that lifts up, like that, kind of slow. Much better. Okay. So we're done with this stencil, so I'm just going to set it over here. I'm going to get a baby wipe and just wipe off some of it off the top, just so I don't ruin this stencil before I can go put it in some water. Actually, I'm going to go put it in the sink. Script stencils can be hard to work with because they do get, because they're so intricate, they don't last very long. That stencil's not in very good condition and it's pretty new. So that's that. So now we want to give this a quick dry so that we can come in with our other stencil and finish up. Okay, that is dry enough. I basically just want it dry enough so that I can come in with my other stencil and not affect the other bits. So if it moves a little bit and is disturbed, it's not going to be a big deal. So I want to come in with some of this lace stencil here, and probably here, and maybe over here. So I'm going to do it in 3 places. If you want to watch somebody that's really great, Jess in Art does some beautiful journal page work in terms of mixed media journal layouts. She doesn't talk in her videos, but she's really good at what she does. I've watched her for a long time, and I've got some color on there, so I'm just going to try to get that off. Okay, and I just need a little bit here, so let's just go up to this part here and just get this big swath here. I did not expect that ink to come off. I thought it was permanent. Bummer. Okay. So if you remember, I mentioned before that it was kind of pointless to use the rice paper as collage paper, because we pretty much, it might feel wasteful, but the reality is that when all these layers show through, we're going to be seeing the book page that we laid down as the first layer peek through all of this, just like it's peeking through that. It's peeking through here. You're going to see it everywhere. So I'm going to dry this one more time, and then we're going to come back and do, I meant to actually come in with some paint, so we'll have to do the paint after we do the dry and before we do the next glaze. I'm so sorry. I have sap green hue in a high flow acrylic, and I've also got transparent yellow iron oxide, and I've got some pink. I'm not sure if I'm going to love that, and then I've got some raw umber, but I'll show you that in a second. Okay. So the beauty of working with a stencil that is a little bit more delicate, like this lace pattern and the script, is that it's not as apt to get soft when you add more paint. So we're going to be cool with being able to move on at this point. So before we do anything else, though, in terms of a glaze, we're going to go in with some color. So I think I want a little bit of this transparent yellow iron oxide. This is actually new. I had to replace my other bottle. I ran out, so I'm just going to open that really quick. This is an absolutely gorgeous color. I have it in both the fluid acrylic and the transparent yellow iron oxide. So this is a high flow acrylic. Very transparent, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead, and I think I need to get some water in my bottle. Let's see if we can make this. Oh, I don't want to get up again. I was not prepared. Oh, this is water too, so we'll be good. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of this on, and then we're going to spray it with some water. So I'm just going to drop it here and there. I'm going to do one side at a time. Okay. Now this isn't going to move the same as an ink would, but it is going to run. The paint's not really running. Let's It's not working out as planned. I think I'm thinking of inks. Inks run really fast, so I'm gonna have to use a little bit more of that. Probably not the best choice, but I want to show you the technique mainly. And then you can tip it this way and have it just kind of go down the bottom. Okay. I'm just going to use my paper towel and kind of move that. I just want some more color on the base before we go in with the raw umber glaze again. So I'm going to do the same over on this side. Maybe I'll add some water first. See what we get. It usually like really wicks out easily, so with water. I think I'm more thinking about the inks and how they behave, but that's okay. I'm just going to tip that. I'm going to tip it that way. And it's not really running all that much. Very surprised. Okay. So I'm going to go right in with the green because yellow and green are not going to be a problem if they mix together. So I'm going to be very careful with this because this is not very transparent, so it's going to be pretty bold. So you can see by the black lines, see how you can hardly see the black lines? That's showing your transparency level as opposed to the transparent yellow iron oxide. So I'm just going to drop a little bit here and there. We're just going to play, you guys. Oh, this is really pretty. This is actually flowing better than the yellow oxide, so we'll get a little bit more. See how that's moving around? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of run it. Now we'll be able to wipe it off the rose, so don't be concerned, okay? I'm getting some on my table, so I'm just going to dot that up. That happens when you're working with mixed media. It's a lot of fluid, okay? So I'm going to wipe it off the rose because I don't want too much in there, and I'm going to kind of dab it here and there because I don't want it to be too concentrated in one spot, and I can kind of transfer that around as well. So I think we're getting a little soft there. I'm not very patient with this process. In terms of dry time, I should be more patient. Okay. Yeah, it's all soft. What's the deal? It should not be soft. Okay, let's get a little bit more over here. It's okay, we'll work with it. But I'm definitely not as patient as I should be. So I'm sorry, I'm off camera there. I want to get some of this off this corner and get it up here if I can. Okay. Actually, I think I'll put a little bit on my mat here. A little bit more of the yellow iron oxide as well. You can thin down acrylic paint. You just have to be careful that you don't thin it down too much, because if you do, it can change the composition and then it won't stay. It won't stick. So you want to be careful about how much you do that. So I feel better about that. I'm just disappointed that my texture paste is still, or is getting soft. I don't understand that. Usually that doesn't happen when you have a finer stencil in terms of the design. So I'm just going to go in there like that, and we're going to go ahead and dry this and see where we are. Okay, she is nice and dry now. I was very premature going in with this ink, this high flow acrylic. So I got some soft areas down in here. I got a soft area in here. You can see how it's kind of distorted there. It's okay, it's dry now. I got a little bit of wet up here. It's now dry, and then down here it got pretty soft as well. But I think we're okay to move on. So we're going to go ahead and do another raw umber glaze and see where we end up. I was debating on adding some pink in before we do that. I'm not a big fan of this Amsterdam ink because it's not very transparent. So let's just test it on a corner and see what we think. Let's see what we think. Oh, that's very bright. Very, very bright. It's a little bit too bold for me, so I'm not going to go with that color. So let's try the other one. I have, this one is a quinacridone rose light. So let's try this. It's a little bit paler, more in line with our roses. So I'm just going to dab that up. Just see what that looks like. The only thing I just don't like about it is it's very, very opaque. So see how it's just covering over that. It's, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. So we're not going to do it. So do we want to try a different pink? Let me grab another one here. Hopefully I don't knock everything over. I've got this Amsterdam quinacridone rose, which is the ink as well, but I think I could use this because I can actually water it down or something. So let's try that. Let's add a little bit of water to this and see what we get. Just to kind of get a little bit of pink here and there. Just like that. Not much. Just a hint. Yeah, that's perfect. A little bit bold, so I'm going to dab it up. It's going to get really muted down again because we're going to go in with the raw umber glaze again. So yeah, that's actually quite nice. I like that. I don't want to get too crazy though. I like to use the baby white because I can move it around that way. Let's move it from place to place on the spread. Yeah, I think that's a good touch. Not too much. Don't want to overdo it, as I often do. I wasn't very patient with drying on this, guys, so don't do what I do. Be patient. Walk away, go fix dinner, go make a sandwich. But I tend to like to do this all in one setting, so I have a hard time waiting. Okay, so I'm going to grab another wipe just because I want to soften some of this if I can. I don't want it to be too vibrant. Okay, awesome. I actually do really like the Amsterdam paint. This Amsterdam paint is really nice. So I'm going to dry this really quick. It's not going to be long, and I'll be right back. Okay, that's all that takes. So I've already got my glaze here. There's some left over, so I just need to wipe off my brush. So I always put it in the water so it doesn't dry out. So I'm going to get a little bit more raw umber. Uh-oh. Don't be plugged up. There we go. And our fluid matte medium again. Mix that up. Pull that in from the sides. It's drying up a little bit, so I'm going to try to reconstitute some of it. Okay, we're going to do another glaze. It's very, very dark, I realize, but it's not going to stay dark. Okay. Now the other thing we could do is wipe a little bit more aggressively. Oh, that's actually working quite well. Let's do that. I'm barely letting the paper towel or the baby wipe is touching the surface. Okay. So I'm not putting pressure with my hand. I'm just doing that. And it's bringing back some of that texture. This is actually very, very beautiful. Okay, so now we're gonna pat with some of it, like dab, just so that we can, again, control where we lighten it and where we don't. I just love the glaze, you guys, but I love grunge. So I'm gonna wipe off more from the rose area here. Oh no, we lost some of our rose. So what that means is that we got something in there that we didn't expect. There's that stuck, that brown, that glaze stuck there. I'm not sure why. Sometimes our matte medium will move and it's not protecting that area, but I don't mind because I can still see my roses. So these are the roses over here, and we can still see those beautiful words. So I'm super happy with that. So I'm going to give this one more zap. I'm not going to put a sentiment on this or anything, but we are going to come in with a little bit of the iridescent gold fine on top of this texture just so I can highlight it, and I'll be right back. Before I do that, one of the other things I like to do is, because we push so much of this back with our layers, I'm going to come in with a little bit of black archival ink and a script stamp, and I like to stamp right on this texture, especially the texture that is made from that lace stencil. So I'm going to just get a little bit of ink on here. How about a little bit right here? Okay, there we go. So I'm going to grab my iridescent gold fine. Let me hold this up for you guys. So again, you can't go wrong. Like, and I encourage you guys, if this feels really intimidating because it's a spread and all of that, I told one of my followers, Rhonda, you know, I said, try just playing on a piece of paper. Like, you can just do this on a little 4x6 piece of paper. Play around with the mediums, play around with the text and techniques, see what you like, and then take it a little bit on a little bit bigger scale. So I'm going to get my iridescent gold fine out. I'm going to just put a little bit on my mat, and I just kind of rub it out. I don't want a lot on my finger because I don't want to saturate it, and I'm just going to rub over all this texture. And this is like the icing literally on the cake. I'm going to do the bigger stenciling first, and then we'll do the script as well. So it also will catch on other texture, not just the texture from the texture paste, but the texture from, now the script is a little trickier because it's a little bit more finite, so we're going to get some gold on the base as well, but that's not a huge problem. I'm going to go a little bit around the edges as well. But I would just encourage you to just get a couple of supplies and just play, because you might find that this is not your thing. And I do want to mention I will be coming back with an art journaling series. So it's going to be called Creative Art Journaling Play, and it's going to be less mixed media. I mean, it's going to be mixed media in that it's going to be mixed media, like you know, probably some lace and some, you know, some paper and some stuff like that, some embossing, but it's not going to be as much wet media. So it's going to be a little bit drier, which might be up the alley of other people that maybe aren't so much into a deep dive into mixed media. So, but yeah, so that's, and I'm trying to get a little bit on that edge of that paper if I can. It's really pretty. So let me hold this up for you. So there she is in all her glory. Our rose got very, very lost in this. I would probably do that differently next time. But again, this was mainly just to play, show you some techniques, show you the order of things. And so I'm going to back up a second and talk with you about, as I mentioned in other videos, but if you haven't watched those, you do have to be careful about the mediums that you're using. So if you're using a water reactive medium like Distress oxide sprays, or other inks that run that aren't permanent, or you're using watercolor crayons, or you're using watercolor, or anything that is a water-based medium or water reactive medium, you have to be careful of where you layer those up. So you want to make sure that if you put that in a lower layer, that you're aware that when you put another wet medium on top of it, it's going to move that color. Sometimes it works out just fine, and other times it can really wreck your project. So what we did here that I think I would change is we just got really dark, and our rose is just kind of private here. I mean, I don't mind it, but if this was a mixed media piece on a canvas, I would not be happy with it because it's very, very dark. But it shows you all the techniques that I'm trying to teach you and trying to demonstrate. And that's the main point of doing Mixed Media 101, is just to kind of get you exposed to what kinds of things you can try. And so we'll be back with another video. This is the third one in the series. So I will see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.